Hello everyone, today's video is about the study of triads in inversions. So triads are 3-note chords like this, or to be more simple, like this. What will be covered in this just will be triads in their 4 forms and inversions. There will be no chord progressions, and I will stick to classical harmony in this. I will have another video on jazz voicings, which is a completely different subject. Also we will not be covering chord progressions. That will be a separate video also. So what we're going to do is start with the C major triad. We'll do so C major triad is C, E, and G. And by the end of this video, we'll be able to memorize all of the different triads. So to find middle C, you're going to go to the left of the group of 2 black notes and put your thumb here. You could also find the first 5 notes of the major scale, right? And play 1, 3, and 5, and that gives you the major chord. Okay? So there's your C major chord. Now, all triads have 3 notes, right? So in all triads are chords, but not all chords are triads. So there are other chords, for instance, C7, which is not a triad because it has 4 notes, right? So dominant 7ths and diminished 7ths and anything with a 7th or a 9th chord or a 13th is not a triad. A triad is 3 chords. So this is your most basic chord. So once you're comfortable with C major, you can pause the video. C, E, G. We are now going to invert it. So what we will do using our right hand is take the C and put it here. So we're going to get this C, put it here. We're basically standing the chord on its head, and that's what's called an inversion. So there, we have an inversion. So this is the first inversion of C major. So it's E, G, and C. So you can practice from going from C major, first in root position. In root position, you notice is symmetrical, and then first inversion is asymmetrical. Why? Because you have an interval of a 3rd and an interval of a 4th. So how do we count intervals exactly? Well, a 3rd is 3 notes, inclusive, 1, 2, 3, and a 3rd, 1, 2, 3. So here we have 2/3. When we invert the chord, we have a 3rd and a 4th. And again, the interval is inclusive. 1, 2, 3, 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4, a 4th. Okay, and we will invert it its final time this way. So this is our second inversion chord with the G on the bottom. And we just put the E on top. So next thing you would like to do would be practice just continually inverting the chord. And you can take all the time you want. And then we'll talk about the fingering, because this is basically the same on 3-note chords. So in root position, you're going to use 1, 3, and 5. First inversion, you're going to use 1, 2, and 5. Second inversion, you're going to use 1, 3, and 5. Right? Why do you don't want to use 3 here? Is because you kind of have a bigger stretch between your thumb and your second finger, and you want to take advantage of that. Just as in this one, you don't want to use 4, you want to use 3, and you don't want to use 2, because see, now you're wasting 2 fingers over 1 note. So 3. Okay, so right hand is able to invert the C chord. And you practice, you want to get very fluid. Coming down is another story now, isn't it? That's what you'll practice, C major chord. Now left hand can do the same. Right, now left hand, the fingering is going to be opposite of the right hand. This is going to be 3, and this is going to be 2. So again, you're looking at the chord, and you're going to take the bottom note and put it on top. And that gives you the inversion. So you can pause the video and practice this, and when you have C major down, we'll do other chords. We'll do other forms of chords. Okay, so now staying in C, we're going to make our major chord a minor chord. Okay, so to make our major chord a minor chord, we lower the third a half step. Now notice we still have a third and a fourth. I mean a third and a third, right? So we have 2 thirds. But we have 2 different kinds of thirds. Did you realize that? So if you count semitones or half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's a major third. And then 1, 2, 3, that's a minor third. Now notice now I went from counting intervals where I count inclusive to counting half steps, which are steps, and then non-inclusive. So this doesn't count as 1. Your first step is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a major third. 4 half steps. You have to take 4 half steps, travel 4 half steps to make a major third. And then a minor third, you have to travel 1, 2, 3 half steps. So a major chord has the major third on the bottom and the minor third on top. A minor chord has exactly the opposite. Minor third on the bottom and the major third on top. And thus it's a minor chord. The major chord sounds sunnier than the minor chord. The minor chord sounds darker. Okay, so still in C major, we have a major and a minor chord. So now we're going to invert the minor chord. So we're going to take the C and put it on top. Notice that the names of our chord are still the same. C, E flat, and G, right? We just have E flat instead of E natural. Okay, so now you're going to practice that. And also left hand. Now I'm still playing separately. Okay, so minor chord. So now next, the chord that has, is there a chord with 2 minor thirds? Well, yes, there is. And that is a diminished chord. Well, diminish means to make smaller. So you have 2 minor thirds. So here's a C diminished chord. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Diminished. Now to invert diminished becomes very strange, right? It's pretty asymmetrical. And to the left. And you hear how terse the diminished chord sounds. And then finally we have the augmented chord. So if we get the 5th and we make it larger, we end up with the C augmented chord. A C augmented chord is a perfectly symmetrical chord, no matter how you invert it. And the reason for that is it's 2 major thirds. So when everything is equal, this is a highly dissonant chord, and this is a highly consonant chord. So both of these chords have no tonal center. They have no hierarchy because they're equal. So diminished chord can be part of anything. Can move to any key. Can move anywhere, see? So diminished chord is used as a portal to get to almost any key. And an augmented chord is atonal. Like you're floating in outer space. That gives you the feeling of floating. This is 2 major thirds, see? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you can practice inverting an augmented chord, right? So we take the C, we put it on top. You take the E, put it on top. You can do the same with the left. Okay, so now when you get fluid with each hand separately, you can try together. And I'm only going to do with the major chord for time. But you'll see that in root position, everything is easy because we have a 3 and a 3. But then when we go to first inversion, we have a 2 and a 3. So 2 and 3 are going to play opposite. Okay, you can take a picture of that. And also, here we have a 2 here and a 3 here. Right, so to play together adds the problem of that your hands are mirror images of one another. So you're going to play the opposite. And it takes a little bit of coordination, right? And you hear how impressive playing just one chord in inversions. Very, very, very impressive. It's just one chord. So those are just three notes, right? Or diminished. Okay, so triads, yeah. So next thing is you're gonna start. You can transpose, right? You could do the same thing on F major. So F major. If you know the first 5 notes of any scale, you take 1, 3, and 5, and that gives you the major chord, right? We're starting on F, left of the group of 2, right? And I'm not going to go through all the inversions as I did with C, but you could transpose it. And then minor, right? You have a minor third, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and diminished and augmented. Right, so basically, can you take the first 5 notes of any scale, make a major chord, and then you can find all the chords from that: minor, diminished, augmented. Okay, so let's keep going. B flat. Right, so you can take a picture of B flat. One, 3, 5. Major, minor, diminished, 2 minor thirds, right? Then you go back to the major chord and you can find the augmented chord. Again, I'm just going around the circle of fifths. So E flat, right? You know the first 5 notes of the scale. So it's E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. So take 1, 3, and 5. And you don't have to do all of these keys at once. You can just memorize one at a time, right? You can pause the video. Thing about music is cumulative. It's a slow, like it's as if you water your garden and you water your garden with a soaker hose. You learn something and you learn it forever. You have to keep every single thing you learn. Right? It's not like, you know, the way you should be learning in school actually too, right? Most of the time you could get away in school with learning a date of a battle or learning a certain thing and then forgetting it. Do the test and then move on. It's not the same in music. So if you were to practice each one of these scales one at a time till you had it by memory, these are very powerful tools. So major, E flat, we are in E flat. Minor, lower the third, right? Take the minor chord, lower the 5th half step, you get the diminished, right? Major, go back to the major, raise the 5th, augmented. There's your augmented chord, right? And then practice inversions. And so on and so forth, okay? E flat. So next would be A flat. Right, so there are your 5 notes. I'm holding them down so you can see them very well, right? I'm not going to go through both hands, but this is what you'll need to do is find these all, right? So you know the first 5 notes of the scale, 1, 3, 5, major. Lower the third, right? So notice everything has a different combination of black and white notes. Eventually, you'll just be able to do these by feel or by the look of them, the spatial relationship. Diminished, right? You can also hear them. You start to hear the chords, right? So A flat major, go back to find the augmented, raise the fifth, and there's your augmented chord, A flat. Next in the cycle of fifth will be D flat, or C sharp, depending on what mood you're in, right? If you spell it as C sharp, it's C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, right? So this is an E sharp, your C sharp chord. D flat is a little easier key to spell. D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat. So here's your major chord. Lower the third. This is now an F flat. And then this is a G double flat. So here's your diminished. Go back to D flat major and get your augmented. And then from there, work on your inversions. Okay, you want to be fluid in all your inversions. There's a reason for that, because when we get to chord progressions and you're fluid in your inversions, you will be able to do chord progressions very easily. Okay. Okay, so what's next? G flat. So you know, get the first 5 notes of the scale. So you can study scale videos. There are numerous scale videos across the internet, including my own. You're free to go to whatever ones you like, but it's nice if you go to mine. So G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, or you can spell it in F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp. So 1, 3, 5, that gives you the major chord. Lower the third. Right? You can also do it from one note, right? So we have F sharp. Tell me a major chord. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, because counting half steps. There's your F sharp major. Lower the third, minor. Lower the fifth, diminished. Go back to the major. Raise the fifth, augmented. What's next? If you said B, you are correct. B major, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. Find the 1, 3, 5. That's your major chord. Lower the third, lower the fifth. Go back to the major, raise the fifth. There's your augmented. And have fun doing inversions. Okay, next chord, E major. To find the first 5 notes of the E major scale, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B. 1, 3, 5 gives you the major. Lower the third. Lower the fifth. Go back to the major chord. Raise the fifth, right? And then you can, right? In actuality, there were only 4 augmented chords, right? So an E major chord, did you realize this? An E major chord is identical to a E augmented chord is identical to a C augmented chord. And so the symmetrical chords only have 4 forms. Okay, E. What's the next key? A. So find the first 5 notes of the scale. 1, 3, 5 will give you the major. Lower the third, minor. Lower the fifth, diminished. Okay, go back to the major. Raise the fifth, augmented. Okay, next key, D. Think about it for a second. Can you do it on your own? You can even pause the video here and then check what my answer is. Brand new key. Okay, so if you're back, first 5 notes of the scale. Here's your answer. 1, 3, and 5. Major. Lower the third, minor. Lower the fifth, diminished. Go back to the major, raise the fifth, and then practice separately inversions. Okay, next, G major, and this is our last key before we go back, because the next key after this will be C. And we have done all of our chords and all of our inversion, all of our triads. So here's G, first 5 notes. 1, 3, 5, lower the 3rd, G minor. Lower the 5th, G diminished. Go back to G major. Raise the 5th, augmented. And then play your inversions. All right. So have fun practicing that. And the next video in this chord series will be progressions, and we'll show how inversions and progressions are very powerful. One more note about inversions: you can also play inversions like this. So this is C in the first inversion. Now note that I'm playing a root position chord in the right hand, but because I have an E as the lowest sounding note, it is first inversion. So if I move the E down here, it's root position. And you can hear the sound of that, right? How different that is, right? A lot of recitative in opera will start with the first inversion chord, right? And if you play the 5th in the bass, you get what is known as a 6/4 inversion. That's your 5th, right? Most climaxes of pieces have this, right? And this is also the cadenza chord if you're playing a concerto. It's the 5th in the bass. So notice how the sound of the chord in the inversion is ruled by the bass. So that's another way of doing inversions. You can practice that, different bass notes. All right, so have fun practicing, have a great day, and thank you for watching.